Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Friday, February 10th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Friday, February 10th. It is the final football Friday of the season. Super Bowl Sunday is now 2 days away. This Sunday, February 12th, Eagles-Chiefs down in Phoenix, Arizona. Super fired up, always exciting time of year, always an exciting game. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Whether you watch football, whether you don't watch football, you got Super Bowl parties, you got all the food, you got all the excitement, friends and family. It's a great time and an awesome, awesome game. Hopefully we're getting a good game. Hopefully we get a close game this season. We're going to get into that today. It is a packed podcast. It is a massive, massive Friday show. We got a little bit of 3 topics today, really. We usually do 2. I'm going to get you 3. The sports world is booming. You got the Super Bowl on Sunday. NBA trade deadline is behind us. NHL trade deadline's coming up. Rangers already made a big move. Nets gave away everybody. So we'll get into it. We're going to start off today getting into the Super Bowl, getting into the game, giving you the keys for both teams, and I will get you my Super Bowl 57 game pick, and that will wrap up the year of game picks as I look to get my 180 pick correct on the season. I went into championship weekend with 179. I got both games wrong. I predicted the Niners and the Bengals. Both of those obviously didn't happen. So this game will dictate whether or not I get my 180 correct game pick of the season. And I will get you all you need to know, get you ready for Super Bowl Sunday here 2 days out. We're also going to get into the news. Nets traded away Kevin Durant. Shocked the basketball world yesterday about 1 a.m. Eastern on Thursday morning. Kevin Durant gets traded to the Phoenix Suns. We'll get into it here. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the trade, what this means for the Nets, and the Big Three era for the Brooklyn Nets is officially over. We'll kind of take a little bit of a look back, take a look at maybe what ifs, and what went wrong for the Brooklyn Nets during the Big Three era. And now we take a look at the future, and the Nets are eyeing another rebuild here in the future. So we'll get into that. We're also going to get into the Rangers, 2 opposite paths. Nets rebuilding now. Rangers are going all in for a championship. Chris Drury goes all in, brings in Vladimir Tarasenko, an excellent goal scorer, something the Rangers needed big time. Bring in Vladimir Tarasenko. Also get Nico Mikola, defenseman. So the Rangers add 2 players, give away Blaze, give away Prospect and Hunter Skinner, a couple picks as well. We'll get into that, what that means for the Rangers. And is anybody able to stop this Rangers team now? That is absolutely loaded with talent. We'll get into them as well. And we'll wrap things up with a New York sports update, because not only do you got Super Bowl Sunday, but you got a lot of good stuff going on tonight into tomorrow. And obviously all around the weekend, basketball all tomorrow, Saturday, as we get ready for Super Bowl on Sunday. So with all that being said, this is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get right into it. So Chiefs-Eagles Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Fox. Chiefs coming out of the AFC, obviously Eagles coming out of the NFC. And look, we've been talking about this obviously the entire week. If you're interested in checking it out, Monday I did my Chiefs and Eagles offensive overview. Wednesday I did my Chiefs and Eagles defensive overview, and today we're going to put it all together. I'm going to get you my keys to the game on offense for the Chiefs, keys on defense for the Chiefs, keys offensively and defensively for the Eagles. But look, obviously as a general overview for this game, we talked about this Monday after, championship weekend. This game doesn't lack any storylines. You got the brother bowl between Travis and Jason Kelce, which I know probably has been said about 1 million times after, the AFC Championship and NFC Championship games 2 weeks ago from this Sunday. Talked all about that last week. We're talking all about it again this week. Their mom being, a focal point, in the NFL honors yesterday and all this type of stuff, in which the Jets had a great night last night. Klecko and Revis going to the Hall of Fame, and Sauce and Garrett Wilson, respectively, winning Offensive Defensive Rookie of the Year. And we'll get in. I'm going to talk about that on In the Trench with Gang Green, Jets podcast that I do. I'll do that video later today if you're interested in checking that out. So we've heard a lot about it, but that's a storyline. You got a storyline about, Andy Reid going up against his former team. team. Obviously, former Eagles coach. Now he gets an opportunity here against his former team to win a championship. Nick Sirianni is first Super Bowl as a head coach. He gets an opportunity here to win a championship. Philly looks for their second Super Bowl in 5 seasons, and so do the Chiefs. They obviously won one back prior to the COVID year 2020 Super Bowl. They took care of San Francisco. Lost the next year to Tampa. Wasn't in it last year. Now they're back. So both these teams, the storylines in this game are obviously high. You got two great quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. So when you really break it down, as much as I wanted to see a Niners-Chiefs or Niners-Bengals Super Bowl, as much as I wanted to see that, and I'm a big fan of Burrow, and I love the Brock Purdy story, when you do look at this and you take a dive into this, there's a lot of talent in this game. There's a lot of great storylines, and it should make for an exciting night of football on Sunday. So we'll start off here with the Chiefs. I've talked about them obviously all week long. We've talked about them a lot. We'll start off here with them on offense, then we'll get to them on defense. They were the number 1 ranked offense in football. They can throw the ball, anywhere they want. Patrick Mahomes could throw the ball 50 times a game if he wants to. The Chiefs are a dominant force on offense. They were number 1 in total offense. They were first in passing. They were first in scoring in the regular season. They were putting up 413.6 yards per game in the regular season on offense. Mahomes had 5,250 yards, took home the MVP last night. They are a dominant force. And again, as I mentioned on Monday, we went into this season with the Brooklyn Nets, or the Kansas City Chiefs, sorry. We went into this season with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we said, this is going to be a big test for Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill. It's also a big test for Kelce because defenses now are going to put a lot more focus on Travis Kelce. And clearly that hasn't impacted at all. Kelce had 1,338 receiving yards, led the team. Mahomes over 5,000 yards, MVP again, averaged 308.8 yards per game. Dominant force. The Eagles got to find a way to contain it, obviously. But to me, what it comes down to for the Kansas City Chiefs is in order for this passing game to work, they've got to protect Patrick Mahomes. The ankle seems to be better. It doesn't seem to be much of a factor. But the last thing you want is for, in this game, Patrick Mahomes to come out, get sacked early on, ankle get injured again, ankle, start to hurt again, and he's not the same. And he's limping the rest of the game, his mobility's taken away, and all of a sudden, things go downhill. So to be honest, my key to the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, when I look at it, you could say, Kelce, get Kelce involved. You could say, utilize, both the running backs and Pacheco, and because this secondary, the Eagles, is really good. They had the 9th best passing defense in football, so they are a very, I apologize. They had the first ranked passing defense in football. Sorry, I was looking at their offense. They're a very good team, and the Eagles are a very dominant team stopping the pass. So you could always say, get the running backs involved. Get the ball to Pacheco, get the ball to guys like that. And it'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs do that. If the Chiefs early on try and run the ball a little bit, try to get the run game going a little bit more, or they just say, you know what, and this is probably what's going to happen, Patrick Mahomes, just sling it. Get it to Kelce, get it to Juju, get it to Valdez-Scantling, getting to guys like that. Use McKinnon in the passing game. Get Pacheco involved as well. The Chiefs do a great job of that. McKinnon this year has been phenomenal in the passing game as a running back. He's really been a receiver at the running back spot for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, in the postseason, their rushing game has been better than it was their rushing game has been pretty solid. They're averaging about 107 rushing yards per game. I thought they were going to run it more against Cincinnati. They didn't. So it is interesting. But to me, what's going to come down to it for the Kansas City Chiefs is what can this offensive line do? So my key is you got to protect Patrick Mahomes. This Eagles defense this year had 70 sacks. As we all know, that is the third most we've ever seen in a season. They were 2 away from the 84 Bears. The 84 Bears are remembered as one of the best defenses in NFL history. They were 2 sacks away from breaking them, for breaking their record. The Bears were unbelievable. The Eagles were up there in that conversation. Hassan Reddick this season had 16 sacks. That was tied for second in the NFL. He leads the team in sacks still during the postseason. This team is lethal in getting to the quarterback. That is why Brock Purdy got knocked out of the game. The last thing you want is for Mahomes to get knocked out of the game, and all of a sudden, Chad Henne's got to go on and win you a Super Bowl. Because, again, a lot of people say, The Eagles, they didn't play a very talented Giants team. They played a Niners team with no quarterback. Well, yeah, they played a Niners team with no quarterback because they knocked their quarterback out of the game because they were able to get pressure. So to me, it's up to the offensive line. The key is you got to protect Mahomes. You cannot put tight ends one-on-one with Reddick. They got to, number one, Hassan Reddick's got to be number one priority. Tyler Kroft on Hassan Reddick might have been the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life of watching football. And then he knocks Purdy out of the game, and that was it for the Niners. So to me, it comes down to you got to double team Reddick. Whatever you got to do it. Jumbo package, whatever you need to do, you got to find a way to protect Mahomes, keep him upright. You cannot let Hassan Reddick take over this game because we all know he's capable of doing that. So that's my key for the Chiefs on offense. We go to the defensive side of the ball. This Eagles team loves to run it. That's all they do. Run, 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 run. When you look at their postseason, they're averaging 208 rushing yards per game. Now, the defense for the Eagles, or for the Chiefs, is allowing 107.5 rushing yards per game in the postseason. They were the fifth best rushing offense in football in the regular season, and they're the number one rushing offense in football in the postseason. Let's be honest here. Jalen Hurts has only thrown for 275 yards in 2 games. He's only averaging 137.5 yards. The Eagles' leading receiver is Devontae Smith in 2 postseason games with 97. They have not needed to throw the ball because they blew out the Giants 38-7 and they blew out the Niners 31-7. So they haven't needed to throw the football when they're averaging 34 points per game and they're only allowing 7 points per game in the 2 postseason games. They haven't needed to, but you got to try and force them into that. You got to find a way to stop this run game. Boston Scott, Jalen Hurts can run as well, Kenneth Gainwell, and Miles Sanders. That is a 4-headed monster that no team this season has had answers. Right? No team this season has had answers for stopping them. Kenneth Gainwell right now leads the team in the postseason with 160 yards. Miles Sanders led the team with 1,269 rushing yards in the regular season. Boston Scott's a guy that can come in the red zone, punch in a 3-4 yard score. We all know what Hurts is capable of. You got to find a way to contain the run game on defense. Again, this Chiefs team was 8th against the run. That was their strength of their defense this season. Guys up front like Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, who's one of the better tacklers in all of football. He led the team with 180. He was second in solo tackles with 108 in the NFL. He's a guy. Open field tackling is going to be crucial. Also up to the corners. Do they blitz more? Does Steve Spagnuolo try to clog the holes? You got to win your one-on-ones up front. Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, guys like that against Chris Jones and that interior defense is going to be pivotal. My defensive key for the Kansas City Chiefs is finding a way to contain the run game because the Giants had no answer and the Niners had no answer. And collectively, those 2 games resulted in 2 blowout losses for the Giants and the Niners and 2 blowout wins for the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's the reason why they're here. If the Eagles rush for 200 yards this game, it's over. I don't care how well Patrick Mahomes does. The recipe to success for this Eagles team is to run it down your throat. If they do that in this game, it's going to be a long day for Kansas City. You got to find a way to stop the run game for Kansas City. So, protect Mahomes, keep him upright from one man specifically, and that's Hassan Reddick. And also, you got to find a way to stop this run game that's an absolute beast. 4 guys can give you can damage you. Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell has been the best one in the postseason. And oh yeah, the quarterback too, he can run too, in Jalen Hurts. So 4 guys you're going to have to look out for. So now we go to the Eagles' offensive side of the ball. And look, again, and we've talked about this on Monday when I did my overview. As much as the Eagles have dominated the run game, something that makes this team really, really good is they can win in many different ways. They can also run it, but you also, let's realize they were the 3rd best offense in football overall this season. A lot of time, and again, I know I just said that they were running. I know they're the last ranked passing offense in the postseason, and that's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. That's more of a compliment to their run game that has been so good. But this is a team that this is a team that is capable of winning a game with Jalen Hurts' arm as well. Hurts this season was in the MVP conversation. Obviously, Mahomes won the MVP last night over him. But he was still averaging 246.7 pass yards per game. He can do it with his legs as well. He had 3,701 passing yards this season. That was number one. A.J. Brown, too. Let's not forget, he had 1,496 receiving yards. That was actually more than Travis Kelce was getting. 88 yards per game. So A.J. Brown, phenomenal. Dallas Goedert, too. Another guy, tight end to look out for. Under the radar, but solid. Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts has the arm. He can make plays with his arm. They were the 9th best passing offense in football. So as much as I do talk about the run, this is a team, and that's what makes them so scary, where they can beat you. Jalen Hurts can beat you with his arm. He can. He can also beat you with his legs. The Eagles can also beat you by giving the ball to running backs 35 times in a game and running it down your throat and running it like 6 times in a row, which they did against the Giants. There was a stretch against the Giants where they ran like 6 run plays in a row, and it was like an 8-play drive. They were just run. So they can do that. Jalen Hurts can run, and you can also throw. So that's something that makes this Eagles offense really scary. Again, 3rd total in football, 9th in passing, 5th in the rushing, 3rd in scoring. When you look at, some of the breakdowns, they were putting up 389.1 yards per game, 147.6 rush yards per game, 241.5 pass yards per game. This is a team that still put up 28 points per game in the regular season. You have the number 1 scoring offense versus the number 3 scoring offense. You have the number 1 scoring offense versus the 2nd-ranked defense in football. So that's what makes things really, really fun in this game. But to me, my key for the Eagles is go with the hot hand. Stick with what's working. Early in this game, I think it's crucial for the Eagles early in this game. You want to get Hurts comfortable again. First ever Super Bowl, young player. He's played 3 playoff games. Obviously, they're the wild card game last year against Tampa, and they played the 2 here. 2 of the 3 were at home. And let's be honest, last year it was kind of a first year, let's hope that we can win. Maybe win a game. Maybe we get lucky, right? We all knew they weren't going to, I actually thought it was going to be a closer game, but I didn't predict them to win. We all kind of knew Tampa was going to win that game. That was kind of year 1 of Sirianni coming in. All right, you got to the playoffs, now let's build off of this. It's similar to the Giants. Like, the Giants now got to the playoffs. I'm not saying next year they got to make the Super Bowl because they have less talent than the Eagles did last year. But Hurts still doesn't have that signature playoff experience like Mahomes. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl, right? Burrow, been to a Super Bowl. Purdy, too. That would have been the same concern. Although he has playoff experience, he's played 3 playoff games, he doesn't have that Super Bowl experience, which not many guys have. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they try to early on, just, short, quick throws, get him comfortable. But to me, the key is you got to just roll with the run game. Again, they can win with your arm. Hurts can win it with his arm. If they're stopping the run game, then you could start, throwing it a lot more. Get it to Devontae Smith. Get it to A.J. Brown. Get it to Goddard. Get your running backs out and have them, in the receiving game as well. So to me, I think the Eagles, and I understand that the Chiefs' defense in the regular season, their strength was their rushing defense, but in the postseason, their strength is actually their passing and their scoring defense this postseason. So to me, I think it's run early on, set the tone, and until a team stops you, you got to keep go with what's working, and that's my biggest thing and that's the biggest thing to the Chiefs too. That's the concern is like no team has shown they could stop the Eagles at all with the run game. So why go into the game and try to adjust it? So to me, go with what's working. First quarter, run it. Run the ball. You get the ball first. Let's see runs. Until a team makes adjustments and finds a way to stop it, go with it. So to me, the key for the Eagles, specifically early on setting the tone in this game, is running the football. Because that's what they do. That's what they do best. And that's what has worked. And let's be honest, that's why they're here. Is because of the run game. So that's my first key. That's the Eagles' offensive key. Again, Gainwell leads the team in the postseason. But that's what makes this team so scary, is they can run it. But if it's not going well, you have Jalen Hurts and you got Devontae Smith, and you got A.J. Brown a part of that passing game, and that's scary in itself. And again, why did they win 14 games this year? That's a big reason why. They can beat you in so many different ways. They've showed this postseason that they could beat you. They showed in this postseason that they beat you with the run, and so far no team has stopped it, so why try to beat them another way? So offensive key for the Eagles, continue to go with the run game. Now we go to the Eagles defensive over here to close things out. And I'll get you my game pick, and we'll move on to Kevin Durant and the Rangers move to get Vladimir Tarasenko. Two teams going in opposite directions. So we'll get that here coming up. But finally here, the Eagles defense. I mean, look, you're going up against Patrick Mahomes. And I've talked about this, obviously, on Wednesday with this Eagles defense. They're loaded. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you got Hassan Reddick, you got guys like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Darius Slay. They've got weapons. They've got pieces all over that defense. Edwards led the league, actually led the team in tackles with 159. That was tied for 7th in the NFL with 99 solo tackles. Josh Sweat has 15 tackles for loss. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had 6 interceptions. That was tied for first in the NFL. This team has guys all over the field on defense, all over the field. And it's going to be really interesting to see, again, and actually, Reed Blankenship actually leads the team in the postseason with tackles. He has 11 in 2 games. Bradbury also leads the team, and Hassan Reddick leads the team with 3.5 sacks. This is a team, again, that had 70 sacks as a team in the regular season. They've gotten 8 in the postseason, so they have 78 total. Reddick, by the way, also has 5 forced fumbles. That's tied for first in the NFL. But to me, I know pressure is a big thing. It's a big key, and I know that's the key for the Chiefs, obviously getting pressure. Something, though, that this Eagles defense, they've gotten a lot of pressure, don't get me wrong, and their secondary is really good. Their total second defense in the NFL regular season, they were total number 1 against the pass, 17th against the run, 8th scoring. So far in the post, their rushing defense has been their weakness. Like their rushing and that's a big reason why they brought in Ndamukong Suh, is because their rush defense was really bad. They got a ton of pressure on the quarterback. They had a really tough time stopping the run. Postseason, number 1 total, number 1 against the pass, number 1 scoring, 4th rushing. So the postseason, same thing. Passing, all that good stuff. Now they're going up against Mahomes. They're going up against Travis Kelce. They haven't seen that yet. They played Daniel Jones, who had a great year, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles. I'm just saying where I'm going with this is they haven't seen that lethal quarterback yet this postseason in Patrick Mahomes. They haven't seen a guy like that. They didn't have to go, and play a lethal quarterback. They didn't have to go and play. They played Daniel Jones, who, again, is good, but not great. And they played Brock Purdy for the first 5-10 minutes, and that was it. So to me, I think they got to find a way here, which no team has been able to. Similar to the Chiefs going up against the Eagles' run, they've got to find a way to try and contain Travis Kelce. That's my key, and that's the biggest thing. Come at me, say I'm Captain Obvious, but to me, I think what this comes down to for the Eagles is if Kelce's open and he's out there, and no matter how much pressure you're getting on Mahomes, if Kelce's there, Mahomes and Kelce are gonna catch fire. And that's the bottom line. No team has been able to do it. Travis Kelce, Mahomes combo for the Chiefs is similar to the way the Eagles run the football. It's so dominant, nobody's been able to stop it. So to me, it's you got to find a way to contain Kelce. Look, if containing Kelce's blitzing Mahomes and getting pressure on him so Kelce doesn't get involved, you got to do that too. Pressure's going to come. But it's guys like Darius Slay, it's guys like James Bradbury, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, jump the routes, right? Jump the routes, cut in front of Kelce, try and get an interception, try to get a turnover, something to get him rattled. Kelce's got 176 receiving yards in 2 postseason games. He's averaging 88 receiving yards a game. Kelce's dominant. He's Mahomes' number 1 guy. Mahomes doesn't have Tyreek Hill to go to. It's Travis Kelce and Travis Kelce only. You got Juju, you got some other pieces, but let's be honest. You would expect this Eagles secondary to keep those guys quiet. So contain Travis Kelce. If you can do that with this pass rush, you can make life miserable on Sunday for Patrick Mahomes. Now, that's very hard to do, but that's really what it is, what it comes down to. Because this Chiefs offense, we thought they'd run more. They haven't really ran as much as we'd expect them to in the postseason. Now, to be fair, Pacheco's got 121 rush yards this postseason. That's about 60.5 yards per game. Don't get me wrong, that's good, but they didn't run much against Cincy with Mahomes having a banged-up ankle. So I think that tells you Mahomes' mindset and the Chiefs' mindset that this is his team. Go out there and win it for us. And you want to find a way to stop that, take away his number one weapon. I'm not saying I'm not saying you got to hold him to one catch for 3 yards, but you can't let Kelsey go out there and have 9 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. You just can't let that happen. So, to me, it comes down to containing their number one weapon. So, offense, continue to roll with the run game. Nobody's been able to stop it. Continue to go with it. And on defense, it's obviously containing Travis Kelce, Mahomes' number one weapon. And let's be honest, where would this offense be without Kelce for Patrick Mahomes? So now with all that being said, again, and I'm rooting for the Chiefs in this game. I want to see the Chiefs win. Not a big Philly fan, obviously. Chiefs are, it's who I'm going with here. I like Mahomes. I like Andy Reid. 6:30 Eastern, Fox, obviously, Sunday. Matchup predictor here, according to ESPN Analytics, giving the Kansas City Chiefs a 53.3% chance of winning, the Eagles a 46.7% chance of winning. Eagles have the 1.5 point favorites in this game, so they're actually coming in the favorite. The over/under here is set at 51. Again, and I said this on Sunday after the championship round. This pick took me a very long time to get. I started to kind of gear towards this team around like Wednesday-ish after I kind of did the defensive overview. And look, again, I've talked a lot about this about the Chiefs. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I want to see the Chiefs win. Mahomes, Kelce, great combo. They've got some piece on defense. Chris Jones, although he didn't win NFL Defensive Player of the Year, was in the conversation, was a finalist for it. Obviously last night, Bosa took it home. But he had an excellent season, is an excellent player. They've got guys on their team. We all know what the Chiefs are capable of. The team really runs through Patrick Mahomes. It's Patrick Mahomes. That's the Chiefs. And let's be honest with you, that's perfectly fine because nobody's been able to stop it. But when I look at the Eagles, I look at a team, both teams are well coached. Both teams are very good quarterbacks. Both teams could do a lot. To me, what separates the Eagles to the Chiefs in this game is the run game for Philly. And I know a lot of people this week, and I've looked at both sides of it, and I understand where people are coming from saying, oh, the Eagles played the Niners who had no... Again, but the Niners have a great defense. The Eagles still ran all over them. The Giants, no, they're not great, but they ran all over them. I mean, they ran all over the two teams they played. Again, 208 rush yards per game. I don't care who you're playing. That's a very big number. That's something you don't see very often. So give credit where credit's due. And to me, that's what separates Philly over Kansas City. I think Philly is a little bit more the complete team where they can beat you in many different ways, offensively and defensively. You need them to get pressure, they can do that. You need them to get turnovers, they can do that. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was tied for first in the NFL with interceptions with 6. You need them to lock guys down in the secondary. Well, they've got guys back there. They've got Darius Slay. They've got C.J. Gardner-Johnson at the safety spot. They've got pieces back there. They've got James Bradbury. They've got an excellent secondary. Oh, yeah, by the way, they were the number one defense against the pass. Second overall. They're a lethal defense. Second, when you look at them, they're third in regular season offense. They were second in total defense. This is a more complete team when I look at it, a little bit more complete with the Philadelphia Eagles. And to me, I think that's going to take over in this game. So I'm going to take Philly. I'm going to take the Eagles. I want the Chiefs to win. I hate picking against the teams that I'm rooting for. You know how I don't like the Eagles. I really don't. I don't like the Eagles. I'm not a big Nick Sirianni fan, but again, you know what you're going to get on the show. I'm not biased in one direction. I think you all can kind of agree. This week I gave a lot of credit to Philly. I'm giving them a lot of credit right now. I don't like them, But what you get on this show is my opinion. And you get numbers, you get stats, you get the real stuff. So to me, this Eagles team I just think is a little bit better than Kansas City. That's what it comes down to. More complete team that can beat you in many different ways. And I think they do a lot of really good things on defense that can potentially not shut down Kansas City, because nobody's going to be able to shut down Mahomes, but contain and keep Kansas City in check for the most part. I just like the way Philly matches up in this game. I also like the way they've dominated in the 2 games prior to this. So give me Philly, Super Bowl 57 champions. I'll take the Eagles over Kansas City. Again, I want Kansas City to win, but at the end of the day, I think the Eagles get the job done. I will take the Eagles 27-23 over the Chiefs. We get a good game. We get a good game late. Preferably, I would like the game to go into overtime, although my score doesn't say that, because 27-23, that's not overtime, really. I mean, unless if it's 20-20 and they kick a field goal and then the Chiefs kick a field goal, then the Eagles, or I don't know. So 27-23, I hoping for a good game. All I ask is it's close. Again, at the end of the day, if the Eagles win, it's not gonna. I'm a Jets fan, so to me, I love watching the Super Bowl, obviously, but it's not like I just want to see a good game. I'm rooting for the Chiefs, but if they lose, I'm not gonna be, so upset. Because I'm a Chiefs fan for the Super Bowl, and that's about it. So, that's why all I want to see is just a good game. Overtime, great. You want to see overtime? I'm all for. A minute left, Mahomes got the ball, 1 timeout. I would like to see that. I would. Whether it results in a win or not, I would like to see a good game. I don't want to see a 31-17 game where it's late in the game. I said this on Monday. I don't want to see a game where a team's lining up in victory formation. I want to see a game where final 2 minutes, somebody's got the ball, game on the line. That's what I want to see. So I'll take the Eagles 27-23. I got them covering the 1.5. I'll take the under on the over-under of 51, right at 50. So I'll take the under. Eagles cover and get the win 27-23 and win Super Bowl 57. I'll take Philly. And that is it. That is my final pick of the 2022-2023 NFL season. And the next game pick for the NFL will be September of 2023 here. Pretty, good amount of months out. Like 6 months out, 7 months out, however far we are out. And that is the last game pick of the 2023 NFL season for me. And I will see if I nail it on the head on Sunday when all said and done in Super Bowl 57. All right, so now we move on this Football Friday, the last one of the season, and got a little basketball. So Football Friday, football basketball Friday. You want to call it a Football Friday or a football basketball hockey Friday, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it a sports Friday? I don't care. We got a lot to talk about. A lot happened. So the Nets have officially traded away Kevin Durant. They officially moved on from the Big Three, trading Harden last season. Obviously, Kyrie a couple days prior to the Mavericks. And then Kevin Durant was the last one to get moved as the Nets trade Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns. So the Nets trade. The Suns get Kevin Durant, TJ Warren. The Nets get Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, first-round picks that are unprotected. Those are 2023, 2025, 2027, 2029. They also get a 2028 pick swap. They also got Jay Crowder, and they sent him to the Bucks for 5 second-round picks. And I think Crowder ended up getting bought out by the Bucks or something, and now he's on the Bulls now or something. He was like on 3 teams in 24 hours, so it was kind of a crazy, crazy time for Jay Crowder. I knew when Jay Crowder was in the deal, I kind of got a feeling that the Nets were going to either buy him out or they were going to trade him. Sure enough, they did. Got 5 second-round picks. So really, when you look at this, they got like 9 picks out of this deal. They got 4 first-rounders and a pick swap in 2020, and they got 5 picks. I know it's from a separate trade, but they got Crowder from the Suns, and they traded him and got something for him. So it's over. The Big Three in New York, the Big Three in Brooklyn, the time has come. The era is officially over. However you want to explain it, disaster, embarrassment, disappointment's obviously a big one. Similar to described Kyrie's tenure, it will go down as one of the biggest disappointments, not only in New York sports history, it is the biggest disappointment, in my opinion, in New York sports history, but it will go down as one of the biggest disappointments in NBA history, and let's be honest, one of the biggest disappointments in sports history. I'm not going to go down the list. I can't think of many right now, right off the top of my head, of disappointing teams where the expectation was so high. This was definitely more disappointing than Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. June 30th, 2019, the high of that day, I would have never expected it to come like this, 3.5 years later, where we're sitting here talking about all three of them being gone, or, well, Kyrie Irving, KD, obviously that day, the clean sweep, them all being gone. You bring in Harden, the toe on the line against Milwaukee. Look, you could look at this in so many different angles and say where things went wrong. You could sit here and say if KD's foot's not on the line in that Bucks series, they go on and win it all. Again, but that was the second round. So, a lot of people act like if Kevin Durant's foot wasn't on the line, we would have won a championship. That was in the second round. We still would have had to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we still would have had to win that round. Then we still would have had to go to the NBA Finals. It wasn't like that was the Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 for the right to go to the NBA Finals. So, who knows? You can go back and say the what-ifs. Obviously, injuries were a big part. COVID hitting, Kyrie not getting the vaccine, him missing time obviously affected the team as well. Injuries to Kevin Durant back-to-back years affected the team because Kevin Durant last year got hurt. Harden got traded. It was a mess. And in this year, Kevin Durant got hurt. And sure enough, the last game he played as a net was against Miami. I mean, that's the reality. It's crazy to think the last game Kevin Durant played as a net, the last game he played was that Miami Heat game, which we ended up winning. But sure enough, that was it because he hasn't returned since. And we kind of all knew we were going into this season for the Nets has really been cut up into 4 parts. The first part was the first part of the season where it was Steve Nash. They started out 2-5, fired him. Second phase was when Jacques Vaughn took over. We were playing well, had the great month of December, 12-2. He wins Coach of the Month. Then the third phase was the Kevin Durant injury. That phase is now over. Now we enter the fourth phase, which is post-Kevin Durant, post-Kyrie Irving, post-Big Three. And now you look at this roster, and it's completely new. And the Nets are entering another rebuild. Now, this rebuild, I hope, isn't as deep, as long as the one that we got ourselves into for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, something that Sean Marks did. And again, I'll give him some credit here. I know he doesn't deserve a ton of credit. This thing blew up in our face, but he did get a ton of picks. I mean, the Nets are armed with a ton of picks over the next, really over the next, 5, 6, 7 years, right? They're armed. They got picks going all the way up until 2029, and obviously that pick swap all the way in 2028. We got a draft, coming up this season, obviously 2023 first-round pick. We also got 5 seconds from the Jay Crowder deal. So we've got picks. We also got picks from the Kyrie Irving trade. This team's loaded. Something that the trade that we made with the Celtics, obviously one of those lottery picks that we gave them turned into Jason Tatum. The Nets didn't have picks during that rebuild. That was a long rebuild where we couldn't get young talent through the draft because we had no draft picks. And we thought we were going down that road when we traded every pick known to man to James Harden, but you do have to give some credit. They did get some of those picks back. So that's okay. We could have been loaded with even more, but we don't go down that road. They were able to get a good amount of young talent and a good amount of talent in return for Kevin Durant. Ultimately, the Nets turned Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving into Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder, who was here for about 7 hours and then got traded. That's what happened. And they turned into a ton of picks. So they got a good return. They got a young talent. This is a new era. This is a new time for the Nets. In terms of the trade, look, in terms of Kevin Durant's tenure with the Nets, look, he was obviously the best of the big three. Kyrie Irving was a train wreck. Glad he's out of here. James Harden was he was a mess. Glad he's out of here. Kevin Durant, look, I mean, I liked him while I was here. He was one of the best players on the planet. We got to watch one of the best players on the planet play for a couple seasons. It obviously didn't turn out to what we wanted it to be. There was obviously some drama. But out of the three of them, he made the most contributions. He did the most for us. He's one of the better players to put on the uniform. At the end of the day, though, no matter how many ways you dissect it, look, I'm not gonna. I don't hate KD. I don't like Kyrie. I lost all respect for Kyrie. Lost all respect for Harden. I wouldn't say I hate Kevin Durant. I don't mind. I mean, look, I don't love him. I mean, now that he's gone, I'm not gonna. It's not like I'm a huge KD fan, but it just didn't work out. At the end of the day, it didn't work out. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And it happens. It happens in sports where this just didn't work out. It blew up right in our face. That's the risk we took. When you go out and sign superstars, it's championship or bust. The Jets are going through that right now. If you sign Aaron Rodgers, it's championship, or trade for Aaron Rodgers, it's championship or bust. You don't win a championship, it could be a long couple years afterwards, and that's where the Nets are entering. But now we get an opportunity to get, a new look team, a young team, a team that obviously is a lot different. You got Dinwiddie, you got Dorian Finney-Smith. They got the job done last night against the Bulls, and the Nets are still a 5 seed, and they're 6 games out, 33-22. Look, their championship window's closing. I think that's what ultimately came down to it is, and the Nets, more's coming out about this. The Nets agreed to Kevin Durant in the offseason because the Suns were very heavily on Kevin Durant in the offseason. The Nets agreed in the offseason to Kevin Durant that they would trade him if things weren't going well during the year. Sure enough, things spiral out of control. Kyrie gets traded. They trade him now to the Suns. They're getting Mikal Bridges, who is a very highly touted young player and a guy that actually the Nets were receiving some trades on deadline day, the day they traded for him. They were giving him 4 first-round picks for Bridges. So the Nets could have even gotten more picks. The Nets are loaded with picks. They really are. They got 9 picks. They turned Kevin Durant to 9 draft picks, including the Dre Crowder trade. If you want to count that as a different trade, you can, but I count it kind of as an extension because they got him, then they traded him, so they got him for something. This deadline, they got a ton of trades, and they got 4 players that Mikal Bridges has an opportunity to possibly be a cornerstone for us. You have already Claxton. They've got some pieces. They got Cam Thomas. You add Cam Johnson, who's young and up and coming. You got Joe Harris, you got Seth Curry, guys like that, who most likely at the end of the season will look a lot different. But all I can say is what I want to see out of this Nets team, and most likely there'll be a playoff team, so it'll be fun to talk playoffs. The championship window's closed. This team's not winning a championship. I don't want to sound negative, but they're not. That's just the bottom line, right? They'll probably make the playoffs. How far do they go? Who knows? Maybe they make the first round and lose. Maybe they make the play-in and lose. But what we want to see out of this team is we want to see Claxton continue to play well. We want to see what Bridges is like. We want to see what Dinwiddie can do because a lot of this is kind of laying the foundation for the future. Now, again, I think this rebuild will be a little shorter than, again, what the rebuild we got ourselves into after the Kevin Garnett-Paul Pierce trade. But you just hope that we can get the most out of the players, and that's the big thing. Is at the end of this season, a goal would to be, find what pieces fit, see what pieces don't fit, and go into the offseason. You got a draft that's important. Get a pick there. Get some young talent there. Get away from some of the contracts, some of the veterans, and really bring in some young talent and really build for the future. And the Nets are loaded, and they can turn this around. They can. So it's a little refreshing because we'll be watching drama-free basketball for the next couple months here, and if they make the postseason, kind of feels like you have a little bit of a weight lifted off your shoulders, because you have a lot of guys that are trying to prove themselves. Bridges is, and if Bridges' future isn't with the Nets, well, he's trying to prove himself for the other NBA teams. You also got guys like Cam Johnson, Dinwiddie. I'm sure, he likes it here a lot. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if, he gets a role here next season as well. So guys are going to do whatever they can. It's a team with really no egos. It's a lot of guys that are going to do what's best for the team, and that's a positive takeaway. But the bottom line is this. There's no avoiding it. The Big Three was an epic collapse. Now you move on. Now it's the aftermath. You got to move on, and, it's a new era for the Brooklyn Nets, and we'll see what they can do and how they turn this thing around. But I'll tell you what, the past couple of days, it's kind of been fun. It's kind of been fun to watch. It has been. Cam Thomas had 3 40-point games against the Wizards, Clippers, Suns. They got a nice win last night. Ben Simmons, the only one who remains. He stinks, but I just want to see a good, competitive, win some games out of this Nets team. That's what I would like to see. Be competitive, win some games. And obviously there's no more egos. There's no more me guys. There's no more drama. And that's refreshing. We get to watch drama-free basketball and get to watch a lot of young guys who are going to play their They're going to play, they're going to fight, they're going to compete, they're going to buy into what Jacques Vaughn's saying, and that's, to me, a positive to take away from this. So, now we move on. 2 teams going opposite directions. And this is why it's nice to be a basketball and hockey fan, because I know it's tough. A lot of people say it's tough. You got to choose one or the other. I took an opposite path. I chose to root for both. My basketball team, the Nets, are going in a complete opposite direction. Rangers going in a complete opposite direction. Nets just sold at the deadline. Rangers just made a huge acquisition. Not the deadline just yet for the NHL, but they made a huge acquisition. The Rangers get Vladimir Tarasenko, Nico Mikkola, and the Blues get Sammy Blais, Hunter Skinner, 2023 first, 2023 fourth round pick. Those are conditional. If Tarasenko meets certain playing time and certain requirements, those moves could turn into different things and stuff like that. But what a move for the New York Rangers. I'll start off by saying this. Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane were two guys that the Rangers were looking at kind of last season at the deadline, and then again they were kind of here again this season. The Rangers needed another winger. They needed another guy on the right side, another right wing guy, another goal scorer, and they get that here with, obviously, they're going to get that here with Tarasenko. Kane was an option. Tarasenko was an option. They're going to get that here with Tarasenko. So I love this move. I mean, I was fired up. Yesterday I didn't really know how to feel as a Net fan, because as a sports fan, because you're on a high, you're on the low of the Nets trading Kevin Durant, which again, it's a new time for them, but it's still upsetting to look back on what could have been, and what it turned out to be. And then you get the news in, and this helps soften the blow a little bit. Also, the Nets winning helps soften the blow of getting Vladimir Tarasenko. I'm going to start off by saying this. This Rangers team is ready to win, and they're ready to win right now. This team is legit. I mean, they are dominant. They just got, I believe, and I know he's had a little bit of a down year, but one of the better goal scorers in all of hockey. Something that they needed desperately was a winger. They're getting a top, 10, top 5 winger, right wing guy in hockey, and they're getting a nice defenseman who can probably pair up with Schneider, on the defensive side of things, solid in his own zone, and also a guy too that's physical. He's tough. He can fight. I'm not saying he's a Ryan Reeves. He isn't. But he can be that kind of physicality factor that you're going to need in the playoffs. And I think Chris Drury also kind of noticed that here too. You're going to need that in the playoffs. You're going to need that physicality in the playoffs. Vladimir Tarasenko has the connection, with Panarin. Both, obviously, Russian-born players know each other very well. You already feel like there's some chemistry there. There's already some friendship there. Tarasenko brings so much to the table. We needed a winger. We got that. We needed a goal scorer. We got that. We solved many needs with one trade. Chris Drury, clap it up, give yourself a pat on the back. The Rangers have a legitimate. Last year they got to an Eastern Conference Final. They have a legitimate. Frankie Gaudreau, Andrew Kopp, those were nice moves last year. But this move is what's going to put you over the top. This is the type of move that Chris Drury's saying, you know what? We got a team that is a piece or two away. Let's make it happen. Let's get a deal done. He did just that yesterday. This team is Stanley Cup this season. This team is capable of winning a Stanley Cup this season. They are. That's the bottom line. This, you can make the argument that, I don't know if it's Stanley Cup or bust, but if this team doesn't make the Stanley Cup, I think we'd be a little disappointed. Because this team is really dominant. Definitely, probably going to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I know you got teams like the Bruins. I know you got the Lightning. I know you got the Hurricanes. But we just got Vladimir Tarasenko, who's one of the better players in all of hockey, one of the better wingers in all of hockey. And I know he's had a little bit of a down year, but he still put up 34 goals last year. This is a guy that is more than capable of going on streaks where he is the best goal scorer in all of hockey. He's got 19 assists this season, 10 goals, 29 points. Last year, he had 82 points, which was the most he's ever had in a season in 75 games. So he's had a little bit of down year. I know he's had, the shoulder injuries issue. That is a concern, and who knows how much that's affected his play, no doubt about it. But you're bringing in a dominant force to the offensive side of the puck for the New York Rangers. So I am fired up for this trade. I really am. Again, this is something we've talked about last year. We talked about it a little bit in the offseason. His name and Patrick Kane's names, two right wingers that the Rangers needed. We've been talking about it. Chris Drury gets the deal done. So, and he didn't give up much. He gave up a first and a fourth, and obviously those are conditional, and he gave up a prospect in Hunter Skinner. And Sammy Blais, look, he came over with St. Louis. He goes back now to St. Louis. He had a lot of promise. The torn ACL, I think, derailed him a little bit. Missed all last season, missed all the playoffs. Wasn't the same player this year, was not the same player we thought we were getting. You got to move on. It didn't work out. It is what it is. You move on. Right? It happens. Some things don't work out. But to get Tarasenko in return for blazing a prospect and a first and a fourth round pick that I know can change, but that, you would imagine that you might, there was some possibility maybe having to give up Kakko or Lafreniere for Tarasenko. But no, we got Tarasenko for a very low price. We got one of the better players in the league for a very low price. Credit to Chris Drury. This Rangers team is legit. This Rangers team is capable of winning a Stanley Cup right now. Right now. And when you look at the standings, they're obviously third in the Metro, 29-14-8, 66 points. 51 games in. They'll get the Kraken tonight, 3-game win streak. They're 7-2 in their last 10. Get the Kraken tonight. You'll get the Hurricanes tomorrow, back-to-back. Then you get the Canucks, Oilers, Flames, Jets, Red Wings, Capitals, Kings to wrap up the month of February. So a very, very good time to be a New York Rangers fan. Nice. What a time. Really is. Fired up. It is an exciting time to be with the Rangers, an exciting time to be a Rangers fan. And yesterday's move gets you even more fired up about the potential of this team, specifically this season. All right, so obviously some NBA games on tonight. You got the Knicks and the 76ers. You got Spurs, Pistons, Suns, Pacers, Hornets, Celtics, Jazz, Raptors, Rockets, Heat, Timberwolves, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Cavs, Mavericks, Kings, Thunder, Trailblazers, and the Bucks, Clippers. I wanted to share one more thing. One more thing about the Nets, or the Rangers. And you got Panarin, you got Mika, you got Igor, Kreider. You obviously have Tarasenko now to the mix. Fox, they're loaded. They are loaded with guys. But I wanted to show you something about the Nets and their big three. So the final game tallies, and was from Nets videos on Twitter here. So the final game tallies in Brooklyn Nets superstars. So 280 possible games they could have played together. Kevin Durant played 129 games, 3 seasons, 1 season sat out due to injury. Kyrie Irving in 4 seasons played 127 games. James Harden suited up for 80 of his 114 possible games for Brooklyn. Never, when we made that move, did any of us fans think it would turn out to be that much of a disaster. And I believe only the 3 of them only played, 16 games together? All said and done, they only played 16 games together. That's bad. Really bad. As for hockey tonight, obviously you got the Rangers against the Kraken. Islanders have the night off. You got Blue Jackets, Maple Leafs, Coyotes, Blackhawks, and the Penguins, Ducks. And as for college basketball, tomorrow, obviously big day tomorrow in college basketball. Kentucky will be on the road in Georgia, 12 Eastern ESPN. You got some other games as well tomorrow. Some big ones, Texas, West Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn is a big one. Big one in the Big East, UConn, Creighton. Rutgers will visit Illinois. TCU, Baylor. So a couple big top 25 matchups tomorrow in college basketball. And that's kind of the appetizer for Sunday, which is obviously Super Bowl 57. So that will do it for the podcast here today. That will do it for another week. Enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday. Chiefs, Eagles, taking the Eagles again, 27-23. Just believe they're the more complete team. Nets tomorrow against the Sixers. Then the Nets will play the Knicks on Monday. Kentucky against Georgia. Rangers against the Kraken tonight. And then they'll head to Carolina to play the Hurricanes tomorrow. After a big move again with Tarasenko, see how this team reacts and if they play with more energy and continue to pile up wins. This team's legit. They really are. So that will do it. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I will be back here on Monday recapping it all. See you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.